Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside EMA, a podcast about the science behind medicine's regulation and the people who make it possible. I'm Sophie Labbe from the communications team, and today we will be diving into a topic that affects us all: health misinformation. From viral social media posts to misleading headlines, false health claims often spread faster than the truth, influencing people's decisions about vaccines, treatments, and even everyday habits. So what impact does this have on communities? And most importantly, what can we do about it? To discuss this important topic, we have two very special guests today. On my left, we have Konstantina Boumaki, who is a medical doctor, a patient and diabetes advocate, and a member of the youth group of the European Patients Forum. Welcome, Konstantina.
Thank you.
And on my right, we have today Dr. Steffen Thirstrup, who is also a medical doctor and is our Chief Medical Officer here at EMA. Welcome, Steffen.
Thank you for having me again.
Again on our podcast, a very regular guest. So maybe we could start with a bit looking into the state of health misinformation. Where are we today? Are we really seeing a rise? What is your perspective on this? Maybe from the EMA perspective, you want to start, Steffen?
Yeah, many thanks. Misinformation have always been there, also for health topics. But I don't think I will be lying when saying after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen a significant rise in misinformation. Both misinformation that seems to have their roots in simple misunderstanding, picking up rumors, multiplying rumors, but also misinformation that seems to be more or less spread by default or by will, by intention. We see misinformation about the safety of vaccines coming from authorities that we normally would not expect to communicate these kind of information. So it's a big challenge, and I sometimes being asked what I regard as biggest challenges for EMA and for public health in Europe, and I list the challenge of misinformation very high on that list.
Yes, for sure. This is really why we wanted to speak about this today as well. And maybe turning to you, Konstantina, can you maybe give us a bit your perspective as well as a patient? Have you seen this rise in misinformation, and how do you see these challenges today?
Definitely. And for my perspective, it's not only after COVID, it was when internet started, because you could have easy access to a lot of information that might not be accurate. For example, for diabetes, they were saying, of course, it's not true, disclaimer, but cinnamon can cure your diabetes, or, you can eat a broccoli and you can be cured, but these are not true. These are not scientific facts. But you could find so many this type of information when you Googled diabetes and what should I do, and people tend to look for easy solutions, and patients can be a lot more vulnerable, and they tend to, because they have a lot of stigma, they have emotional instability, so mental health issues, so they want the quicker solution. So they will believe it. But of course, it's not only about patients, it's generally about people. And now the AI is rising, which is another topic.
Of course.
You can find so many information, but some might be accurate, some might not be, because the AI wants to please you. They want to find you whatever answer just to please you. And this is, again, of course, might not be intentional, but it is misinformation a lot of times.
So definitely something that could be on the rise with the current in the current context. Definitely. Maybe I want to stop on one specific figure and fact that we have seen recently. So according to the Elderman Trust Barometer, the 2025 one, overall people seem to respond and have high confidence in their ability to find trustworthy health information and actually to tell good information from bad. But at the same time, we have 58% of young people who actually say they have made a health decision they regret due to misinformation. That is a really striking figure, and I wonder, is there a specific, because you're part of the youth group of the European Patients Forum, maybe Konstantina, you can share a bit what is the young patients' perspective on this, and where do you see the challenges here specifically for young people?
Yeah, as I said before, of course, it is the quick solution that you need. There is a lot of stigma and stereotypes, so you need to find the quicker solution, but also nowadays with the social media rising, young people, they will not look information to accurate places. Of course, they will not even know what EMA is or to go into the website, because I'm sure EMA and all the regulators and agencies, they're doing a great job, but where do they find young patients? Do they find young people in general? Because they're not where they are publishing this accurate information. So I think that social media has played a huge role in this misinformation, and of course influencers, where they need the clicks, they need the views, they need the likes, so they will publish whatever just to promote it, just to sell it. So you are the audience and they are selling you a product or information just because they will get paid at the end. And of course we have heard so many issues with these products, vitamins that can help you with so many diseases that are not accurate. But they're selling a product, so...
Of course. Is that something that you see, for example, at the European Patients Forum? You have patients coming with their experience of this.
I have seen it from my personal advocacy
your role
history.
is...
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Not in the European Patients Forum, because of course European Patients Forum is multi-disease. The youth group is from 10 people, they have 10 members and we're doing some projects, but young patients will seek information to the member association of VPF. So it will be the disease-specific member associations, yeah.
So it's more in the diabetes field that you've seen these kind of issues?
A lot. And diabetes is, so much money play in diabetes, so many misinformation and so many inaccurate products are being produced for diabetes.
That's very interesting. Actually, I'm conscious that I'm in the room now with two medical doctors from different generations, and that also the doctor has a role to play also in the patient relationship, in facing this information day to day. I wonder if you have a perspective to share on this, and maybe from your experience, if you have a memory of a situation like this, or a thought about how it has evolved. Maybe Steffen, do you have something to share?
I'm the older generation here. Became a doctor around the same time the internet, I think, was born, but it was not really accessible to the general public at that time. But still, I met a lot of patients who were subjected to misinformation coming out of news sites, weekly magazines, and misconceptions being picked up, but also having root in a lack of fundamental understanding on how your body works and how different diseases are caused. We can take a very simple example now. A couple of podcasts ago, I talked about antimicrobial resistance. Many people don't know that infections can be caused by bacteria or virus, and that you can only treat those caused by bacteria with antibiotics. So having that, and that also creates, a misunderstanding of what is the reason for the disease, and maybe also a demand to the medical profession to do something. And I think that's already there, where we have the fundament that we as healthcare professionals, we as an organization like EMA, although we are very distant from the general public, I completely agree with you there, Konstantina, there is a really gap in how we get to the general audience. We also have an obligation to make sure that we explain terms that we take for granted. So medical terms, scientific terms, that we go one step back and explain what do we actually mean by this, and what does it mean for you as a patient when we say, now we can stay in the vaccine field, that vaccine created immunity. For many people, immunity means that I will not get diseased, but immunity fundamentally means that you will have some level of protection, and that level could fundamentally be from 0 to 100%. And there you can already have the basis for some of the misinformation that is circulating around the COVID-19 vaccine, because people said, yeah, but people got sick anyway, so I hadn't got the immunity, therefore the vaccine didn't, and then it started creating these misunderstandings, coming back to we didn't explain some of our terms detailed enough.
Yeah, and also I think, sorry for...
Go ahead.
But you mentioned AMR, and EPF did a pilot survey to young patients on where they would want to seek information for AMR, of course, but this translates to so many other topics. And the number one was in school, to be educated in school. And I think that there is a huge gap into what we are learning there about critical thinking, like we have discussed, and about like where you seek information and what you filtered or know on what it is shown to you. And I think it is very important. And the least was the leaflets or the long articles, because this is not relatable for us. And long articles or a lot of scientific facts only will be read by scientists or people who understand these words. And young people in general, they don't. So they would seek the easier. And of course now the internet, social media are very, they have created this quick round. You scroll, you see something very quickly, and then you move on. You don't
have time to look into the details, right? Or to understand you have to be quick in explaining maybe the concepts,
so I think the
right?
information needs to be in this way, like short and very understandable, and then people would seek information in
But it's interesting, because I think we're already delving a bit into solutions, actually, which is exactly what we want to discuss today. So that's perfect. But stopping on this a second, when we look again at some of the facts from the Elderman Trust Barometer, we can see that the drivers of trust have changed, and trust is much more localized. So people might not trust their governments or their media. They will trust their peers as much as they will trust medical experts, for example. So how do we get from that situation today? What can we do as organizations like EMA, as patients' organizations? If we look at solutions a bit, what is your perspective on this? I don't know if you want to explain, for example, Steffen, what we're maybe trying to do at EMA on this topic.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. And it is a big challenge, because you can break down trust like this, but it will take months, years, ages to rebuild and regain that trust. So it's really an imbalance here. So we are having an uphill struggle. So what we are trying to do is to do what we are doing today as once, creating podcasts, creating information that hopefully will be seen also in very quick on scrolling on YouTube or Instagram and so forth, picking up that here's something interesting, and then hopefully people will dive a deep further and get an understanding. So being present on our social media with our information. That also meaning that we are trying to have colleagues of mine, including myself, being ambassadors for the agency, being on our personal profiles on different social media. I'm only on one social platform. I'm on LinkedIn, and I must say whatever I write there is related to my work. The private person, Steffen, is almost not existing on that platform. So I'm definitely ambassador there, and I try to, again,
explain the science, share the information that we're doing, sharing that you and I have done in podcast here and so forth. And then we have established a work with content creators, or maybe we can call them influencers as well. Maybe content creators is a nicer word, but because we are not trying to influence in the sense of, creating a false understanding of things or driving things maybe we are driving things in the right way towards understanding of science. So we are engaging with a number of content creators on the internet to help us amplify the information that we think we need to get out there. Because, Konstantina, you have a completely right point here. There is a long way from EMA's offices
in Amsterdam working and speaking English to the patient wherever in Europe, most likely not speaking English. So there's a long distance there, and that that gap, we need to see how we can fill best possible.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you want to actually also share a bit of your thoughts on the matter as well, Konstantina. What can we do better, and what are you trying as a patient organization to do, and also what can we do better, you think, to reach patients?
Yeah, I want to start because you inspired me somehow to say that it is great to have to publish in your LinkedIn, for example, about EMA's work or work relatable, but it is better if you make it personalized. It is your own personal viewpoint, of course, accurate. I mean, not anyway. I will not give an example because I tend to joke, and now it's not the platform to do so. But to be accurate, but if it's more personalized, then people can relate to that. They will read it and then they will say, oh, I relate to this experience. And then they will want to hear more. Because nowadays, if you have something written and you publish it, then people feel forced to read it. People feel forced in this information, and they will trust it, but they will not care, you know. So I feel that if it's more personalized, if it's of course, not accurate information, but to make it your own. Peer support is the best.
But that's actually also what we are trying to do with being ambassadors, that people post personal experience, but of course seen with the eyes of being an employee or the chief medical officer of the agency. What I meant saying, the private person, Steffen, his holidays pictures and his family posts, they are not there. So but I also think you should be very clear that when you do these kind of things, you are being seen as representing, in this case, the European Medicines Agency. So even though and I agree with you, should try to make it personalized, you are still part of that center. So it's difficult to disentangle Steffen's LinkedIn post from EMA on LinkedIn in this case. But I completely agree with you, it should be personal experience. It should not just be, standard statements from the agency. Then we can post somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there something actually you've tried that you thought has worked to get messages through? For example, in the diabetes community, have you had the experience, like an example you could give us of something you've done, maybe?
Peer support, peer-to-peer support is the number one, care system in whatever country. You have an experience, and of course, diabetes is a complicated disease, which is not the topic today, but a lot of times people have one experience that can be relatable to another. If you're traveling and the heat can ruin insulin because it needs X amount of temperature, someone else might find a trick, if you don't have a fridge, to cool it down. So this peer support is the best advice. Of course, it's not like what insulin you should use, because this is only communication with your doctor, but this is an example that you have tried as a patient, which is you have this disease, you have this experience, and you feel relatable. Like when I meet someone with diabetes, because it's so it's a complicated disease, we tend to have like 100 thoughts per day. It's a full-time job. You never off that. So even when I sleep at 3 a.m., I woke up because I had a hypoglycemia. But so they have the same experience. It's like knowing them my whole life. So through that kind of systems, there's a way to get the information to the right people in the right way. Yeah. So it's really, again, the personalization of trust somehow, and the peer trust as well, that can make a difference then. And because, as Steffen said, that trust is not there with, of course, not with EMA, because EMA is doing a great job, but people don't trust the national authorities, they don't trust the government, because they have let them down in the past, and right now we live every day through their mistakes. So this trust needs a long time to be built, but this trust that is not existence tend to go into EMA too, because it's a governmental authority, which of course it's not true, because it's completely different. but people, especially East Europe or South of Europe, they will not trust because they have like a
Yeah,
allergies.
I mean it's interesting perspective, because it means maybe we have a role. I mean, we definitely have a role to play in the misinformation field, but it makes it even more prominent actually and understandable. So thank you. That's very interesting.
I think we have a role, Sophie, both in rectifying the mistakes. And maybe we didn't do so many mistakes that like others did. I'm not here to judge, but we need to rectify any mistakes, and then we need to find ways moving forward in rebuilding trust in science, and communicating science, so that when people read what comes or hear about what is happening here, they can trust what is coming from
Absolutely.
EMA.
I think we want to stand up for science. Is definitely something we want to do.
But of course, to reach especially young people where they are, because right now they are in social media. It's not so good, of course. We see the results, but we can change that. So we need to find them there, because they are there. They will not Google. They will not go to the EMA website, for example. Now we're here, that's why I'm saying that. But they will not go to whatever website to look information, or they will not call the doctor, because there is this issue too, that nowadays young people and people in general, they will not go to seek information to the doctor. They will first do it, seek it at Google or ChatGPT or whatever. And this is very bad. But this is the difference though with young patients, because young patients with chronic diseases, they have a better relationship with their doctor, because they are their carer, like
they have a good follow-up, right? So then it creates a different
But I'm
perspective.
actually concerned to your point that it's not only of young people. It may also be middle-aged people who, used to use Dr. Google to find out things, and now using ChatGPT and other AI-supported algorithms to find information before they eventually see their doctor, if they not try something else of all the mumbo jumbo that is being pushed on the internet. So I'm really concerned. And back to another point you raised earlier, I think, and that's way beyond EMA's task here, but we need to make sure that the young generation, even in school, starts learning that they need to have a critical sense. You and I have went to medical school. We have an academic background. We learned to look at literature, have a critical sense of what we read. If we have a generation coming who don't have a critical sense to what they read on the internet, in the news, it will become even worse.
Definitely.
I think we might need to wrap up soon this episode, but maybe to finish, usually in this podcast, we ask for guests if they have a recommendation. So it could be something that you've read, something that you've seen that is connected or not to the topic. So we have a bit less time than I thought we would have at this point, but maybe you have a recommendation to share with us, Konstantina?
I have. So when you asked me, the first thought that came to my mind, it was the social dilemma. That of course it's not 100% about health, but it's about
a documentary, right?
Yeah, it is a documentary, and it's about the algorithm in social media, that they need you. You are the product. So they need you to come back, because that's how they build their numbers. So they will show you whatever you want to see. So it's filtered. They want you to keep being active on the app, to not switch it off. They show you posts that you want to see. So if you have a tendency to believe that like a rumor, something that is not scientific fact, they will show you more about this being not true. And then you will believe it, because as we said, they will not have the critical thinking, so then they will not seek the accurate scientific facts, or they will not seek on whatever. They have an example on vaccines inside this documentary, because it was filmed after COVID. So they have this anti-vaccine rumor spreading, and the algorithm showing these posts. So it's super interesting to see that you need to not believe what you see online, because the app shows you what you want to see and not
takes you back to the critical thinking, right? Yes.
You should actually start saying, "Oh, it's interesting. let me check whether this could be true.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I was thinking exactly, it's quite fun. We hadn't coordinated, but I was thinking exactly at the same example here, because I think it's a nice way of, because it seems to be the internet and social media that is, to a large extent, there are still other medias out there. There's still newspapers or news sites, but it's all something that is easy accessible. You know, few people buy a paper newspaper nowadays. So most of us get our information where the flow is very fast. And I think this is a prime example on seeing how you easily can fall. And I think all of us falls into that trap. If we're a little bit bored, we take out our phone, and then you are suddenly there, you're caught, why am I looking at these videos? You know, boom. So I had the same example. Fantastic.
Very good, actually. That's very, very good. So thank you very much. I think all of this has been very interesting, talking about critical thinking. It's a good also thought to stay on for our listeners as well. I mean, maybe next time, don't believe the first thing that you see, but maybe cross your sources, think about it in a different way, see if this is correct, what everyone is saying. You need to check your sources, definitely. And we hope at EMA to be a source of scientific truth, and
we stand up for science.
Stand up for science, absolutely. So thank you very much. This takes us to the end of our episode today. Thank you, Konstantina and Steffen, for being here with us. That was a very insightful discussion. And this takes us to the end of the episode. If you liked it, please share it, like it, review it, and share it with your friends. Thank you very much, and see you soon for another episode of Inside EMA. Goodbye.